Anything ever happened to this girl, I don't know what I would do. I don't know if you guys know this little princess, but this is Carly. Carly, say hi. Hi, Carly. Carly is a 9-year-old Shih Tzu. She is my girlfriend Roxy's dog. I was going back through the movies that we might want to take a look at and got inspired. I love this little thing more than anything in the world, and if anything ever happened to her, I would probably go crazy. It makes a lot of sense how it would motivate someone to do something similar. If you don't know where we're going with this, you probably haven't been paying attention the last few years, but this week we're going to go back into the records and we're going to talk about John Wick, Parabellum. So I've been through a bit of a dry spell recently. I've really wanted to see some movies, but work has been crazy recently and I haven't really gotten a chance to get out and get anything. Obviously we were at home during the holidays, and the first weekend back, we spent a lot of times running errands and trying to catch up on stuff around the house, so just weren't able to get out. But obviously, I want to make sure there's an episode up on Thursday, so here we are. We're making sure we have an episode. And I have a whole list of stuff from the summer and a little further back that maybe I wanted to do a review of and just kind of let you know, hey, it's available. Do you want to check it out? Well, at the top of the list, if it's not clear, is John Wick, Parabellum. I have been a huge fan of the John Wick franchise since the very beginning. I went out opening weekend to see John Wick 1 when it was in theaters in 2014, 2015, 16, whatever year that was. And there's a podcast I listen to pretty much weekly, which is right along with Robert Cargill. He's a pretty famous screenwriter. And basically, his one rule is don't hurt animals because it makes your bad guys seem too bad. And if your good guy incidentally does it, it ruins all of the good guyness. That's a really good rule to follow. And it's one that John Wick breaks right out of the gate. So I'm not going to worry about spoiler alerts for the original John Wick. If you don't know about that, then I don't know what to tell you. But the original John Wick starts out with his wife, who is sick, getting him a puppy. After she passes, the puppy's delivered, and it becomes like his best friend, a lot like Carly here. And when some Russian gangsters decide they want to steal his car, they come into the house to grab the car and end up killing his dog. Well, it would have been a lot better for them if they'd killed him instead of the dog. And like I said in the opening, this little furball here, who is basically a stuffed animal come to life, if anything ever happened to her, if anyone ever hurt her, I don't know what I would do. However, in the words of Liam Neeson, I don't have a particular set of skills, and John Wick does have those skills. John Wick 3 Parabellum picks up the story in the 3rd chapter. We've now followed John for about a week. And I know it seems with all the space in between that it's got to be longer than that, but realistically, we are really only with him for a week before we come up on Parabellum. Now, the word Parabellum, of course, means during the war, and it's the time that we find John gearing up and going to war with the rest of his guild. He's got a new pup by his side, not nearly as scary as the first one, and of course, not nearly as scary as producer Carly here, but it's a scary dog nonetheless, an American Pit, and he goes on his rampage. It's strange to think of it as a rampage because it's not really a rampage. It's him basically trying to get out of this organization that let him out once and now is trying to drag him back in. So producer Carly is obviously really, really comfortable, but I'm going to make sure that she can go lay down and get back in her bed. So Carly, do you want to say hi and bye to everyone? You can, of course, follow Carly on social media at Carly Cruz. That's at carly.crz on Instagram. She loves her Instagram followers, so make sure you go follow and say hello to her. So, of course, I want to thank producer Carly for joining me. Unfortunately, she a little tired and wanted to go lay down, so you're stuck with just me for the rest of the episode. If you're listening in podcast form, well, make sure you go check it out on YouTube so you can see exactly how cute Carly is, because she is adorable. So now that I can focus, let's get into it. John Wick 3, obviously the 3rd installment of the movie franchise. John Wick 2 ended with him killing a member of the High Table, with them putting a bounty on his head, and with the head of the hotel giving him a little bit of a head start. 3 picks up right in that moment. We are right there with him just as he's left. So almost no time has passed, which is why I say it's weird, because it's only been about a week of his life, even though so much time has passed in the real world that it feels like it must be more, of course. More than that, he's cut off from the resources of the Continental and he's on the run. And this is not a John Wick that we've seen before. We have mostly seen John the Hunter, although a little bit of John the Hunted. However, he is now being hunted by everyone. Everyone wants the bounty, and let's be honest, a little bit of the pride of being the one to take down John Wick. Now that it's just us, let's also roll through the pleasantries, shall we? Parabellum was directed by Chad Stahelski. It was written by Derek Kolstad, Shay Hatton, Chris Collins, and Mark Abrams. Storyboard credit goes to Derek Kolstad as well. And of course, it's based on the original characters from the original John Wick, created by Derek Kolstad. Our usual cast from the previous movies has returned. Of course, Keanu Reeves as John Wick himself, Ian McShane as the manager of the Continental. John is joined in parts of this movie by Halle Berry, who plays Sophia. And if I remember correctly, I believe this was billed as the big screen return of the Matrix pair because Lawrence Fishburne comes in as the Bowery King. And of course, you're going to see some familiar faces in the background, some that we've seen before in the previous installments. Most notably, one of my favorite actors, one who I came to know from The Wire, and if you're a Wire alum, I'm down for you, whatever. That's Lance Reddick as Sharon. So if this was a different type of movie review, you might not get the same kind of response that you're going to get out of me right now. John Wick is not necessarily a big critical hit. Now, it was a critical hit because critics have learned to love it. But it's not the movie that's going to go forward for Oscars, for the Golden Globes. I mean, we're in the heart of the award season right now, and it is not one of those movies that's going to be in competition, even though it really came out earlier this year anyway. But this is the Everyman Movie review, and what we are looking for is entertainment at the movies. And although this was inspired by the Fast and the Furious series, John Wick really should be the pinnacle of what we're talking about here. I mean, John Wick is beautifully shot. It is well acted. We have some really great awarded actors in the film. And of course, the set pieces are beautiful, especially in 3, they go all over the world. They're in Morocco, they're in New York, they're everywhere. And it's beautifully shot any location that you'll find them. And the action, of course, top notch. And with very few computer-generated graphics. This is one thing I love about the series, is that Keanu Reeves takes it so seriously. He will go in and get specialized training and then act out those scenes himself. So maybe they do it half speed or 3/4 speed. Maybe they do it full speed. I can't really say for sure, but I know that when you see Keanu and you see him shooting a gun, he has learned how to do that, and he's actually doing it on screen. And that is something I can really appreciate. But down deep, under all of those things, the acting, the set pieces, the accuracy of the gun battles, which, by the way, they reload. Not something you see every day. Running out of ammunition isn't just a plot device to move to hand-to-hand karate. It is a real-life thing. We hit round 13, we drop the clip out, bam, we got another one back in, but you see the whole action. That's not something we see a lot, but it's something that Keanu and the director want to make sure they do to keep the accuracy. But I say all that to say that in the end, what this really is a shoot 'em up. Now, if you're unfamiliar with what a shoot 'em up is, it's a movie that has very little purpose other than to display a high body count in a lot of unique ways. You kind of go back to the Westerns, some of the Westerns in this fashion, where it was just a hero who seemed invincible and really just laid people down as much as possible. Now, John Wick is not that guy. What we see with John Wick is a continual battering of not only him emotionally, but physically. He changes throughout with bruising and cuts, and the damage that happens earlier impacts what happens later. And that wasn't a big thing until recently, maybe even until John Wick. Because in my youth, when I went to movies, it wasn't a superhero movie, not like Superman, but it was about superhumans in the movies. Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sly Stallone, all guys who would go through a jungle killing hundreds of people and come out with a cut just perfectly placed under their eye or across their chest. And just thinking, like, all of those rounds, nothing hit them, all of the hand-to-hand, nothing affected them. John Wick is not that guy. He's the guy who knows that in one punch out of 100, in one slice out of 100, you're going to get nicked, you're going to get hit. And that doesn't matter, except for there's a lot more of them than there is of you. And no matter how good you are, you're not going to be good enough to dodge them all. And the movie shows that. I'm not sure if spoilers are going to matter to anyone from a movie that's been out this long, but I do want to talk about some of the gory details of the movie. And to do that, I am going to give you the spoiler alert. So if you don't want to have the spoilers, make sure you skip down to the next time down below in the show notes, because the spoilers are about to start right now. So I gotta say, we were pretty far along before we actually got in with Halle Berry's character, and I didn't really know what to expect when I saw that she was in the movie. And I think that the biggest surprise was just how badass Halle Berry is. I mean, she's been in action movies before. She was a Bond girl, for Christ's sakes, but in the end, I think that what it really comes down to is I didn't really see her as an action star, and maybe that's my fault. Maybe I should have, because although, and this is the argument that some people have given me around the time that we were there, she's not doing so much. She's really just controlling those dogs. Listen, yes, it's kind of a focal point. Dogs are a big deal in the John Wick universe, obviously, but she is doing just as much shooting as she is guiding those dogs. She just kind of has the help of having those canines out there on the field with her. She's shooting, John's shooting, and the dogs are taking down other people as well. They're assisting, but she is just as much a big part of that shooting scene. I think that escalates her into the world of, hey, she is a legitimate action star. She can be someone who takes on action. And I said the same thing about Karen Gillan in the episode earlier this week on Sunday and Jumanji: The Next Level, where I said that, she has really kind of been typecasted into that kind of beautiful action hero spot. She plays in the Marvel universe and then in this Jumanji universe. And although before we saw her in Doctor Who, she hasn't had a lot of breadth to other characters that have been kind of hitting the mainstream. And I think Halle Berry's been the opposite. She's had kind of the other side of Karen Gillan where she should be and hasn't seen so many action roles. And before you jump into the comment section, she's Storm from the X-Men. Yes, that is my X-Men series. My X-Men series is the one where she's Storm. The thing about Storm is, though, she doesn't really go hand to hand. In almost every battle scene involving her, she just floats above and starts hitting things with lightning bolts. She hits the Toad guy with a lightning bolt at the Statue of Liberty. Yes, I've seen the series. And she's in Swordfish with John Travolta. Yes, but she's more bait there than she is actual action star. And I'm not sure that is actually an action movie to begin with. It's really more of a thriller. I think that even at this age, at her age, she has rejuvenated herself and shown that I can be an action star. I can make it look like I know exactly what I'm doing. I can look like a professional. And standing next to a guy who spent the last 2 movies training hard and making choreography, in the end it is choreography, but make it look so real that everyone is fooled or everyone gets drawn into the world and believes it. I think that is a huge compliment. And she should be given more of these roles. And besides the fact she doesn't look her age whatsoever, not that should matter, of course, not that should matter, but she doesn't look her age. So throw her in something. She was a Bond girl, and I get it. Yes, Bond girls are in somewhat action movies, but I don't know that she was in the same way an action protagonist the way that she was here in John Wick. I will say too that Winston has always been confusing to me. And Lance Reddick's character, Charon, or however you pronounce it, the front desk clerk at the Continental. I think that he has always been very center of the road, and I have no favoritism. I just do my job, and that's it. And in this movie, he comes out clearly saying, what's fair is fair, what's right is right. I'm on John Wick's side. I've never been able to read Winston so well. He seems to vacillate greatly between, hey, we're buddies, hey, I can help you out, and the rules are the rules, kids, sorry, excommunicado, 6 p.m. And that has always perplexed me somewhat because, I can't say that for sure that I wouldn't feel the same way, certainly, but I am not a normal person. I am able to draw that line and say, hey, we can be buddies, but great example. At work, I have some people who report to me at work, and I would like to think that I can be friendly to them, and I can still take the position of the boss. Now, can they take that? I don't know. My lesson has been recently that I should give a little more distance because they forget sometimes what is casual time and what is work time, and it's better for me and it's better for them, frankly, for me not to participate in those things. But I think I can keep that distance, and I can compartmentalize people into one place or another. And maybe Winston can too. But it doesn't seem like he's driven by logic and emotion in separate compartments. It seems like it's all driven by emotion. And in a lot of ways, it seems a lot like goldfish memory. It's just like what's happening right now and who has the advantage now, and that's the side that I'm on. Which does make sense. With the guild and the Continental crew and the whole thing, it makes sense that he would just take the side of whoever was stronger at the time. that's how people survive, right? But even thinking about it now, I'm just super perplexed because, he gives him the time. And then at the very end of the movie, he also just basically gives him an opportunity to escape. And yet then does nothing really to help him, but then does stuff to help him. Like, it's so confusing. And it's like, man's got a code to live by. Another reference to The Wire, if you didn't know that. And maybe that's his code. He has a code that isn't exactly clear to us. Maybe I don't pay enough attention to it, or maybe it's just been so long since I saw it that I've forgotten it. But it just is always perplexing the way that the manager of the Continental deals with those in his hotel. Now, and it's different because in one, he seemed very, very, very down the line. Like, hallowed ground, don't break it. If you do, we turn on you. We all turn on you. And despite knowing that probably what John did was for the best, or the reasons that he did it were very important, or that he had to do it because of the rules of the guild, he still turned on him. And I just don't know that I understand that. I think the best thing about Parabellum is that at the end of the movie, we are left very similar to where we were at the beginning of it, and therefore at the end of 2. And that's John stumbling and running, dog at his side. And that sends us the message I think we all wanted to see, which is there is probably going to be a 4. And I said this about Jumanji, and I don't want to be the guy who is just saying the same stuff in every episode. But frankly, give me John Wick 4, give me John Wick 5, give me John Wick 6. 70-year-old Keanu playing John Wick who gets jumped in a nursing home in John Wick 17, and I will go and I will watch it. Because if he takes it as seriously then as he does now, I think it's going to be a fantastic movie. All right, well, that's enough of the spoilers, especially for a movie that's this old. So let's grab everybody back and put them back into the show right now. I think the best way to wrap up my feelings about John Wick is just to explain, I was born in 1984. I started going to movies in the late 80s. I started sneaking into the movies in the early 90s. I started seeing the movies I really wanted to see in the late 90s. And from 2000, 2001 onward, I got to choose for myself what I saw. That is the recipe for a John Wick fan. It's those Terminator, the Schwarzenegger and Sly Stallone movies of the 80s, leading into I guess Sly Stallone still in the 90s. Arnold went down that, let me do some comedy tracks. We've talked about Jingle All the Way and some similar movies as well. But frankly, it comes down to the fact that I am who their core audience is. A guy in his mid-30s who liked video games growing up, still plays video games kind of now. Really, their audience is probably who plays video games a lot now, but nonetheless, plays video games now, and who grew up on those movies, and now just wants to relive a little bit of that nostalgia without it being too nostalgic. I don't need to see Sly Stallone. I don't need to see Arnold Schwarzenegger. I can see Keanu Reeves. And even that is a little bit playing on my nostalgia. The original Matrix came out in 2000. 1999? 1999? Came out in 99. So that was right in the heart of my learning to love movies phase. And you're pulling that guy and you're putting him in something else that I love that just is hitting all the buttons. And it's not fair, but it's amazing. So let's ask ourselves the questions. The disqualifiers first, maybe. Do you not like blood, gore, headshots, gun violence, guns, dogs? That's a pretty cumulative list. If you don't like those things, you are not going to like this movie. It is basically, like I said, a shoot 'em up. There is a lot of guns and a lot of firing and a lot of hand-to-hand violence and using a pencil as a weapon and using things as well. A lot of weapons, a lot of violence. So if you don't like that, you're not going to like it. But if you're okay with the violence and if you're okay, especially with the guns, you are going to love this movie. That's just what I'm going to tell you. You don't have to be my age. You could be older than me. You could be younger than me. If you haven't seen it and you have a reason, you're probably not going to see it. But if you just didn't get around to it, if you're like some people I know who just don't watch movies that often, this is a great time watching a movie, and you should take the time to check it out. Now, it is definitely not going to be in theaters anywhere. You're not even going to see it in a second run theater. You might see a special showing like at Alamo on a special event, especially when it gets around to the year or so. But it is available on streaming. You can find it on Amazon right now. I just checked. Take the time, take an afternoon. Honestly, take a full day and watch John Wick 1, 2, and 3 and get yourself ready for the adventure that let's hope is coming, John Wick 4. This is the perfect movie for anyone over 18, not really for kids, over 18 who wants to have a really good time and just sit and enjoy a movie and not think too much and not worry too much and just be drawn into the story. This is what's for you. John Wick 3 Parabellum. Go check it out. Well, there you have it. Another episode of the Everyman Movie Reviews in the books. I want to thank everyone for joining me, as you always do. It's amazing to see all the support that I'm getting for both the podcast and the video forms of these reviews. Right off the top, I want to say a huge thank you to my supporters on Patreon. I could not do this without you. I have a bunch of new equipment. I have even more ordered and on the way, and that is due large in part to my supporters on Patreon. And whether it's just $1 a month or even more significant donations, I appreciate every single one, and I want you to know thank you for everything that you do. Also, the moral support. I get a lot of moral support and messages from people on Patreon, and I really couldn't continue to do everything I do without you. If you want to become one of my patrons, it's super easy. Go on over to patreon.com, that's patreon.com/Robert N. Cheek, and you can support all of the stuff that I'm doing. The Everyman Movie Reviews, the Rob Explains Everything videos, and I got a whole bunch of other stuff coming very shortly, so you're not going to want to miss any of that. And if you want to be a part of it, the books, the videos, the screenplays, everything, go on over to patreon.com/Robert N. Cheek and become a supporter. You can, of course, now find Everyman Movie Reviews on social media. We have a Facebook page and a Twitter and an Instagram. Find us on Instagram at Everyman Movie Reviews. Find us on Twitter at Everyman Movie and on Facebook at Everyman Movie Reviews. You can find me and my personal accounts at Robert N. Cheek on all your social networks. That's going to be Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, everywhere at Robert N. Cheek. You can find these videos and more on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Rob Cheek. If you can't get enough of me, well, I do a weekly podcast with my buddy Corey. You can find that at otheanthem.com. And of course, you can find it in podcast form on any of your favorite podcatchers, but most importantly at anchor.fm/otheanthem. You can also find it at youtube.com/otheanthem for the video. And we record every episode live weekly, sometime between Saturday and Monday. If you follow us on social media at otheanthem everywhere, you'll get a notification. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube all together at the same time. So come in and join us for the live recording and then check out the episode on Tuesday. New episodes of this show are every Thursday and then one in between. Usually it's going to be Sunday, but I can't promise anything, especially recently. So make sure you are checking it out. You can find it anchor.fm/Everyman Movie Reviews. That's where you can find the podcast version of it. And if you're listening to the podcast, make sure you check out anchor.fm/Everyman Movie Reviews /message, where you can send me a message and let me know what you think. If you're watching on YouTube, that's youtube.com/Rob Cheek. It's the Everyman Movie Reviews playlist. Again, new episodes on both will be available on Thursdays. I didn't get to all the Christmas movies that I wanted to for the 12 days of Christmas, but I saw the movies. I'm going to do the reviews. So now you guys are getting a little bit of Christmas in January as I wrap up those reviews and put those out for you. So keep an eye out for those bonus episodes as well. Thank you, as always, for all your support, for checking out the video. Make sure you check out robertncheek.com, where you can find all of this and more. New episodes of Rob Explains Everything coming soon. New short videos coming soon. A vlog for my trip home coming soon. All of that. Keep an eye out on YouTube and on all over social media. So thank you for joining me. And as always, until next time, have a great week, everybody.